Maybe not.
Here we are. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Welcome to Oh Shit Said. Oh, there we go. See, that's that weird thing. Okay, now we're on.
Are we?
Yeah. Welcome. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Oh Shit Said the
Oh shit, said the
Fairies.
fairies.
It's Sunday, February 2nd at 9 o'clock.
Yay, February. It's my birthday month.
It's your birthday month. Yay.
I love February.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, it's really cold, you guys. It's like this morning it was negative. It was like I think 19 below or during the night, and I
mhm.
couldn't walk the dog because he was like, no.
Like he just wouldn't go out?
Well, we
Or
went outside. We went
uh,
outside, but he was like
he knew.
not. Yeah, he just went to the yard and just
Wow.
sat, and which is fair. Like, of course, it's very cold, and it's that like amazing, like where the first breath that I took when I stepped out the door
Mm.
was like it hurt.
It like freezes the
Yeah,
liquid,
like
freezes the
really.
liquid in our mouths.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
like yeah, it feels really. It's very dramatic. So
yeah.
yeah.
So welcome, and if you want to send us a comment or just say hi as we're talking, that would be
We love that.
lovely.
You're
Yeah.
welcome too. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I'll just start with like be where you are kind of intro, which is that I am back in a really just a really scared state, like really scared, like like it. I am in my trauma, like because I just feel how old this feels, which is this feeling of being very scared, kind of frozen in fear, very kind of like confused thinking, and just really alone, like this real depth of feeling of just feeling really alone. And I think it was brought on by, it feels like COVID affects this, and like, I feel like I'm feeling and learning something about my body's like trauma and the body state, and how the body keeps the score, and we heal trauma, and there's also a body state thing. So like I feel like I've done all this healing in
Mm.
the past when this has happened before in recent semi-recent episodes. I've been like haven't done enough healing kind of
Mm.
thing come in. It's never gonna, I'm never gonna
Mm.
heal. Like there's this
Mm.
whole other narrative about like the suffering of the depression and how it just sort of has been this lifelong thing. And I don't know, I'm feeling it a little differently now, which is so aware that this body state piece was like triggered. I
Mm.
got COVID a couple of weeks ago, and this has been a pattern with the COVID that I've noticed, which is it doesn't like I'm like, yeah, I was sick, not a big deal for like 3 days, and
Mm.
but then there's this wave that I know other people have described, so I don't feel like I'm crazy. Where after a couple of weeks, something else like,
Mm.
and so I think it's tied to inflammation and the inflammatory system, and my it triggers this thing in my central nervous system,
Mm.
and it just sucks. I mean, that's all. Like it just on some level just sucks. I'm sure there's more. Like I know that there's learning and all this stuff for me, but it's so fucking physically unpleasant, and just watching my brain in this trauma place be both confused and also really scared.
Right.
So I
Wants to
feel all this fear
project
in
or.
my body, and it's projecting out onto not being able to function, not being able to make money. Like so
Mm.
so that's where I can feel like I am, and I've been using the dreams like for grounding into different places of feeling that's not trauma.
Mm.
And I've been dreams have been coming up from far and wide in terms of memories of different
Mm.
dreams. And
Mm.
so I've been feeling like I've been feeling this dream from at least a year ago or so, where I'm just, and this is like I can, as soon as I say it, I can feel this like pain, love feeling of this dream where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is sitting like meditating, and one of the young guys I used to work with, who's very kind of dark, scary kind of kid who I stopped working with, has stolen a car. It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's car, and he's just so there, like he's just not stirred by it, and I can really, and it's helpful to talk about it because it like grounds me. I just feel this love. I just feel this love with him, and it's like I just feel this like solid feeling of love that helps settle my central nervous system, and it helps me feel connected, and it doesn't take away the trauma.
Right.
But it also helps me just be, I guess, and remember that I'm loved, because part of the healing aspect of this is that that is a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God knows how I fucking survived with this feeling for so long without any sense of internal or support in a way. So I've been feeling that dream, and I've been feeling this other dream where Tom Thibodeau, the coach for the Knicks, is there, and I am playing, but I realize I don't really feel like playing, and as soon as I don't really want to play, it like removes this thing of like pressure that I've also felt all the time, and I'm just like loved by him. Like I feel the love with him also. And so I've been going back to those places, and then also remembered this dream from a couple years ago when I was in a really very challenging state of trauma and fear and depression and anxiety, where I was up at like the elevator box at the top of my building, like where all the gears and stuff were at the top of the building that I grew up in, and I just feel really scared in that dream, which feels like this, and God knows what that even is, right? But I can feel that kind of open into this fear where I feel this support of this big guy, this big, dear, powerful person who I know, who is really good at keeping people safe. So I'm just in it. I'm in the throes of it, and I'm just hoping but knowing it will pass, and knowing how different my life experience is when I'm not in this state, which is so happy and joyful and open and connected, and just knowing that's
right. Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. So yeah, come as you are, and that's where you are.
So otherwise I'm like trying to be smart or fake it or something.
Right, you're doing the thing of the lawyer or whatever. That's one of the things.
I forgot about that.
So,
Yeah.
you know, not the Leo lawyer, not the loving lawyer, it's
the lawyer or the lion.
Right, not the lion. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
but the lawyer.
The lion is just energy, and the lawyer is where I've had to live my life so much of the time. I'm trying to figure shit out.
Right.
Yeah. And be right.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking burden, man.
Yeah, but then you didn't have to feel the aloneness and stuff. Or
it was it was like my only way to try not to, but it's not like it even really worked.
Right. Oh yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like the hindsight thing. I can feel like my Hello Kitty, persona that I developed to manage my trauma. Oh, like that. I can feel like, how it's just so painful to me and stuff. And it does, pop up every now and again still, and it's not, gone, or it's very like, wow, did I learn it and learn it well? And
it's like habitual. It's like
right,
habitual.
But it did. I can feel that place of too, or like it didn't work, but it did work, because it's like choosing the lesser of all the evils or whatever, like, because even though it was it didn't work, it still helped me not feel the depths of my trauma, and the
Right.
depths of, what was really going on, like the intensity of the pain and
Yeah.
um, that sort of persecution stuff. And yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's, I mean, one way to think about it or feel it for myself is like I am in the depths of my trauma
Mm-hmm.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is just really alone and really scared. And that was my act. It feels crazy now because it's like I also know what it's like to not feel this at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my experience as a child. Like,
Mm-hmm. Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. There was a thing that I was.
and
The,
fuck,
oh.
fuck COVID. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Like how that, you know,
Yeah.
if, at least how that's how I feel now. I know when I'm on the other side of it, I feel like, oh, I've gained so much from going back into
Mm.
it. But in the midst of it, it's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's being physically compromised is, well, so this is what was coming up for me this morning, that I was
Mm.
coming, you know when I was running here, and like feeling that the kind of specific cold air in my lungs, and like how everything is so frozen, and we got a lot of snow yesterday, and
The other night it was snowing.
so there are all
Yeah.
these footprints that are completely frozen. So I was running down the sidewalks, and anyway, it just was fun. Like I was like pretending like I was on an obstacle course, like,
Mm.
and having to hit, like going fast, but having to not to avoid the footprints so I don't like twist my ankle. And anyway,
Mm.
I was like, um, but one of the things that I was feeling was this sort of awareness of, I got drawn into like an Instagram, clip where this woman said, if I could teach children one thing,
Mhm.
in life or whatever this is, and she drew the stick figure on this whiteboard, and she said like, your energy and your brain is energy, and the brain is like the most powerful thing that you have. And like, I'm not saying it exactly how she said it, but her point was like, there's positive and negative, and when we bring in positive energy, we're like a magnet, and we attract the positive energy. And when
Mhm.
and then there's negative energy, and then if we bring a lot of that in or focus on that, then that's what our reality becomes. I'm oversimplifying it, or I'm saying it differently than she did. She sounded more like scientific and less of the woo woo, the secret like stuff.
Mhm.
I'm sounding like the secret. But anyway, you know, I felt, as I often do, um, a lot when I saw that. I was like,
Mm.
because it's so oversimplified. And as a child, if someone would have told me that, that would not have been helpful because of my situation.
Mhm.
Like, I would have felt then like I was responsible.
Mhm.
And it would have been another thing that my brain could have used against me to like, so to support that everything was my fault.
Mhm.
So like, oh, I'm not happy, it's my fault because I can't control whatever, like the negative, the positive,
Right.
like I am,
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's my fault, but this isn't my, but so like, and I also, what came up for me really, so there's that, which is just that could really work for some people. And when I'm regulated and everything in my life, like, is going well, then I can receive that, and that can feel helpful.
Mhm.
But say I have to pee, or I'm a little bit hungry, um, or my eye itches and I have my mittens on and I go to itch my eye, but there's dog hair on my mitten because I just was with a bunch of dogs, and then that hair gets into my eye, and now I have, like, so, and then I'm incapable. This is life. Like, it's not, we can say like, be here now. Like, this just makes me want to cry for some reason. The theme of "Oh shit," said the fairies. Like, Amy is
Oh shit.
is
Oh shit. Amy's crying.
crying again.
Yeah.
But it's like, just what I feel is just the tenderness, and this is related to what you're saying, come as you are, is like, of just being, our humanness, and like things, we can say all these things and have the frame things and the quotes and the, oh, like, just be here now, thank you, Eckhart Tolle, or whatever. But like, we're also human beings having human experiences, having to go to work, to leave our houses and go interact with other people. And there's like, talk about a field, there's a field of projection and reaction that we are stepping into, and
that affects our bodies.
Yeah. And like, and this is an example. So you, in this state that you're in, for you to leave the house and walk up here is an entirely different experience than when you're not having this shit and you're walking up this hill just to get here, and it's like completely different, and so I'm just feeling so much like my heart is just like blown apart, like in this, and for me, like I'm feeling the awareness and the compassion, and like also this like something about just like how this is the place where we can all meet and be together. Like this is the place. I talked to my mom yesterday morning, and my mom, who's like 85 and has Alzheimer's, said to me, I'm so worried about the world, Amy. Like I'm so worried about what's happening in the world, and I, and we talked about it, and I reminded her that what she can do is step outside her door in the assisted living where she is and walk down the hall and look people in the eye when she passed them. and not like acknowledge other people, like acknowledge the other people that are living in this amazing place where she lives, where there's so many people and there's so much, possibility for connection. And yet she just says, I'm alone and I'm in prison here and I'm sitting in this room. And I say, like, step out the door. Like, if you want a radical act, if you feel like you're not doing anything, just be where you are. Like, to the degree that you can, like you are doing, like and just like that is like, my mom she is a gifted person in that way, and she really loves people, and she loves interacting with people, and part of why not having her driver's license, which she cannot have and should not have, and thank goodness, worse things didn't happen with her driving, but she would tell me stories of like going to the store and interacting with the cashier, and it was like the thing that brought her the most joy. And now we all know, thank you, Vivek Murthy, and loneliness is like the thing that kills us. Like it has an effect on us, and my mom go to any, speak to any old person or any aging person and listen to them talk about how they're disappearing and they're not even seen or acknowledged in the world. And and I can feel that to my own degree of like, in smaller ways perhaps, but I feel that like working with a lot of younger people that I work with, and I can tell that I'm seen differently, I'm looked upon differently, and even though I feel like amazing and more like whatever, alive and sexy and than I ever had been when I was living that and looked in that way in the world. So anyway, my point being, like, I'm feeling how it's not, it's not that easy, and sort of I can feel sort of like on certain days those kind of posts make me kind of get me fired up and like make me angry, where I just feel like fuck you. But today I just feel like yes, and be careful, and I know there's so much out there that's meant to be like all the things, like these social media, whatever those things are called, where it's a block and people put a quote in there or whatever, and they're meant to help, but it's not always help, and we can't always help each other. And maybe the irony is like what I'm saying right now is the opposite and not helping someone, and I'm sorry for that, and that's the way it goes. And so and in all that, here we are together, and what you just shared about where you are in your physical state is like a perfect, kind of example, embodiment of like something's work and some things don't work. Some days it's our capacity is
Well,
just
yeah, I mean, it's like the blending of the information with the body state, sort of. It has so, like, so much of my protection was like, if I can just figure this out, it's gonna get resolved. Like, I remember there was the movie Ordinary People with Timothy Hutton. Like, I remember seeing that because he's really depressed because there's been this like awful boating accident. I don't remember the exact thing, but I was like, I saw it in my early 20s when, again, I was spending a lot of time in this state, and it was like, oh, therapy, breakthrough, right? Understanding, oh, this now it makes sense that somehow that means that you're healed, or
that's
something.
what you got from that movie, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. And there was this sort of part of when I feel this, there's like this desperation, which thank God I don't feel so much right now, of like wanting to not be in this state.
Yeah.
And so it was like, if I could just figure this out. Like, I remember when I was after I graduated from UVM, and just really in trauma and this existential crisis of like not feeling like I could function and being in the psych hospital. And I remember this really sweet kind of bear of a guy staff, and I just wanted to tell him everything. So if I figured all these pieces out, it would break me through.
Right.
And it's intense that's not the case. So like all I know about trauma and Bessel van de Kolk and the body keeps the score and the polyvagal system and how trauma operates in the body. I think part of my lawyer brain was like, that won't happen again because now I know how the mechanisms all work.
Right. Right. I have all the information.
Yeah.
Yeah. This reminds me of another piece connecting it to dreams, to all this, is what the dreams really offer. And as you were talking beautifully about your dream places that you've been going back to with Kareem and the coach guy, and is they offer us a different experience, like sensual in-body experience, so even, and it doesn't always work, and I mean, when I first started doing archetypal dream work, I would just be able to hold my homework in the car on the way to the session, and then hold my new homework in the car on the hour drive back from the session. And I barely could touch in between sessions, because it was like so much, and it was so different. Like the reality at that time, the reality of the dream place and my outer life were just, it was like just so different, and whatever, or I would just forget all those things. So, and then sometimes when we go back, like my work that I've been doing has been to be in the European market, or be the boy on the phone, like with the headset on, and the experience of that differs and varies every time, and it's so amazing, but I feel like that's important to mention to anyone who's to any of our clients who are listening,
or wannabe clients.
Yeah, it's just like, it's not the same, it's a dynamic experience, and so but it does offer, like, it's like, for me, no matter what the experience is, it's like going along, and then it's like I remember my dream place, and it's like the note, like it's like a musical note, like it's like my walking along in life, it's like, and then I go back to my dream place, and it's like, it's like the whole, it's like a different frequency, so even if going back to the dream place and the feelings there and the feeling experience there isn't like, oh, I'm broken to the love, I remember love. It's like, it is different. It's like physiologically, like you're saying, I mean, I think you use different language than I do, but it is like it changes the
So, folks, yeah, I mean, it changes the state, you know, and one thing I feel like I'm really appreciating, because in this state I get nihilistic, like things feel really negative and I feel so disempowered, but for whatever reason, like what you said makes me feel like a recognition that I've had this year free of being back in this trauma state, which was amazing, because ever since COVID, I think I've really suffered big time around this. And to really feel this year, I mean, I had, around this time last year, I was just coming out of like a 3 or 4 month feeling like this every day for like 3 or 4 months, and still somehow being a fucking warrior and helping people and doing my job. And but I guess part of what I want to say in terms of the healing for me, and this is like maybe just like personally important for me to say, is that this past year I've not felt depressed or anxious at all, in a way that life has been so exciting and open that I just want to like mention, like, that is also part of this trauma healing, right? It's like, that's not, it just is both. I'm understanding something about the both and thing in a way that I've known but feels really different, of like the physiological state and the more regulated state being really, really different through the healing, if that makes sense. So like my regulated state for the past year has felt really different than the best that I would feel before that. Yeah. Which is just cool. I mean, it's cool. It's like, I think life is really good in a way that I couldn't have imagined, and I think I've gotten sort of stuck in the suffering of like, life is good, but it doesn't matter because I go into this state. And there's like an element of truth in the experience of that, but there's also something really different too, so.
Yeah, I feel like part of what you're saying, my experience lately is that a lot of people just, and me too sometimes, I want, like, drinking caffeine is a good example of, I just want something fast. I mean, that's why people do drugs. That's why, it's like, but also that's why there's just many things, like, people want the quick thing.
Well, they want, I think,
they
want to get out of the state that they're in.
Right. So I feel like what you're saying is, and this is the thing that I was feeling this morning also, is just how I was feeling my own arc a little bit, of starting this work when I was 20 years old, and how I just had some sort of new awareness of the way I've been reflecting a little bit of the way I was, at the beginning, and what the dreams had to break down, and how hard and lovingly the dreams came in to like work with me to really pull apart these ideas that I had that I thought were real, and I thought was really me, and how scary, like how just hard that was, and just the delicacy and the grace and the kindness of the dreams. And that includes sometimes kicking my ass, like, coming in hard, and but even that feels like a delicacy in a way, because it was like perfect. But so this, what you're speaking to is like and I love it, is again being human. It's like not just, it's not like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this one, okay, I'm gonna feel my fear and then everything's gonna be perfect. Like I'm gonna sail off into the
Right.
sunset, or I'm gonna feel my fear and then I'm done working
I'm
my
just the
trauma.
child
Right.
with
I'm just,
God.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm
Yeah.
my soul self now because I
Right.
no longer am the quacking duck.
And
Like,
that's part of what I wanted to believe was like that there was this goal. And like when I first opened up to really feeling this love, like being loved by the Father, feeling which I'd never had, I was like, what the fuck, man? Like I still feel this state.
oh,
Like that, I'm supposed to not
Yeah.
feel this state
Right.
anymore because I feel the love. And there's like
Right.
a naiveness, which is just an immature part. It's like not naive, like judgmental naive, but it's just sort of an immature part that's like, oh, I never felt this before. And X plus Y equals Z. So now it's going to be great. But wait, I still feel trauma. Like I still feel this deep trauma
Right.
in my body.
Right. It's not right. It's not one or the other. It's both.
Yeah.
It's one and the other. So it's like, and yeah, feeling the love and feeling
Yeah.
the trauma place.
Yeah. And however, inflammation affects this. Like
Sure.
the inflammation related to the COVID that, you know, affects the brain and affects the body.
Well, plus your personal experience of being a child and being sick, you know, and you're like, that is part of it,
Right.
you know, is like, I had a different experience, you know, I was, whenever I was sick, like I didn't have the same thing. So it's like, I think it can trigger you even more when your body, you start to feel sick. You're like,
yeah, because I didn't ever have because life was not okay. I never had the feeling of like, oh, when you're sick, you're going to feel better. Right. And so.
Well, nor did you have any comfort.
Well,
when you
that's
were sick.
right.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
things, exactly.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
things are tied together. So I never had nurturance or comfort around being sick. So it was like, and then because my body was so in trauma and dorsal vagal and frozen, I would be sort of so scared and unable to do what was out there that I feigned sickness as an excuse to not do it. And that just like, that's still like a mind fuck thing that I keep, that I'm working through, because it's like you're not really sick. And like being able to like, and the shame that I felt and having to convince people that I was sick when I knew that I wasn't, and they kind of knew that I wasn't. And oh, the poor boy. I just feel it's like, I just want to hold his hand and be like, just it sucks to have shitty parents.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go to Mrs. Zaleski's house across the street when I was sick, and my parents never didn't go to work. So I went across the street to this amazing lady who I got to have. She made me Campbell's tomato soup, and she had TV trays, and we would watch The Price is Right. And I don't know, I felt like The Price is Right was on for the whole hour, all the hours that school was on. But, you know, she would like toddle around, and she had one of those old crank, her washer and dryer was like the tanks with the crank with the wheels, where you squeeze the clothes through, and like I sometimes would go to the basement and she'd be doing laundry, and like she would take a bath, or she'd be like, oh, I'm gonna take, and she'd come out with curlers in her hair, and you know, she was like this, and she was just like this wonderful woman who didn't interact with me very much, but she was with me, you know, doing her thing, and it was like comfort. It became comfort, you know, and so I just wanted to mention Mrs. Zaleski, who's long dead, but I appreciated her so much. Yeah, it was like a special thing.
Yeah, nurturance.
Yeah, she really knew how to do it, and I actually could tell that my feeling was that she enjoyed me being there.
Yeah.
Which was not how I felt in my house. So that was really
right,
nice.
like she liked you.
Yeah, she liked me. Yeah.
And you're so likable. I'm so likable.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how how not loved. This is good to feel, by the way, people, for me.
Yeah.
Because it explains a lot of like the suffering. Like, it's so almost impossible to live when you don't feel loved. And that's what a lot of my childhood was, and it fucking did a number on my central nervous system.
Yeah.
Everything was pressure and figuring everything out on my own, and nothing was ever gonna be okay. Like, my parents lived in this, they lived in sort of this like post-okay thing. It's like, well, we realized things were not going to be okay. Like,
and then accepting that they're not going to be okay, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Fucking makes me feel nauseous. So it's good to be around, like, just the idea, the knowing, like the miracle of being able to feel what it's like to feel love.
Yeah.
And whatever this process is for me, like, of feeling that and feeling trauma and feeling scared and the intensity of it, and knowing that it will shift.
Yeah.
I have great therapists and great friends and great psychiatrists and all of those things. And I was just talking with this really dear friend of mine yesterday who's an ADHD kind of coach, and I'm like, wow, ADHD, however trauma, depression, anxiety, ADHD all mix in, like, I've spent the last year not feeling depressed or anxious, but man, oh man, I still have all these symptoms of ADHD. And it's like, oh man, like, and when something explains and you're like, holy shit, that's that. Like, that's part of what I've been experiencing when I'm finding out about ADHD. Like, yeah, that's your experience completely. Like, for me, when I have a task to do, it always feels like pressure, and doing the task feels like just relief of the pressure momentarily. I always thought that was trauma and depression.
Right.
And it feels like it is. And it's also very much an ADHD symptom.
Oh, gosh, that just sounds... Oh. That just is, like, so painful. Like, that just feels really painful. Like, it sounds so hard. Like, it really sounds so hard. It's like...
Yeah. When I sit down to read, I feel that.
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
Oh.
When I sit down to read, I feel pressure. Even if it's like, I have so many things I want to read.
Right, like, it's not like a book for class or whatever that you don't want to read or you have to read.
Yeah, it still feels like even the book that I'm borrowing from you, what's it called? It's nothing. What? It's got the three. See, I can't remember.
I don't know.
With the gamer, the.
Oh yeah. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Yeah, like, I'm feeling like I love that book. It's harder to read now because challenging stuff triggers my central nervous system, and there's a lot of struggle and challenge in the book, but I really want to read it. And it's like, it does, I just feel dysregulated, like, I just feel this pressure. Yeah, that sucks. I hope that I get to experience something that feels really different.
Yeah.
With it. So.
Yeah.
So that's another piece that at least I'm, like, aware of, and the hope is that I can build those things, I don't know, find an ADHD code, something that's, and luckily I work with these wonderful people who are so integrative. Like, I just feel so blessed by my therapist and my psychiatrist and my primary care physician. Like, they're just all really, I'm really lucky.
That's great.
Yeah. And I'm fucking suffering right now. Not give space to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm so curious who our one viewer is. My desire to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm just thinking about like when my nihilism starts to creep in, or like when my I get wobbly, and like the first thing that can happen for me is a lot of self-doubt
Mm-hmm.
that tries to keep me from talking and
Mm-hmm.
expressing in any way. And then ultimately it would like for me to go back to my old persona, to sink
Mm-hmm.
back into that. But um, I can feel hopeless. Like, that's the nihilism. I can feel like, and what I do is I like want I will make, like, I want to make an appointment with a psychic. I want like
Mm-hmm.
something to look forward to. I want,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I want, like, okay, I want someone on the outside to tell me
Mm-hmm.
like that everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it weirdly has more sway when it's someone who doesn't know me,
Mm-hmm.
because my brain can be like, that person loves you, they're just saying what you want to hear, which is like so sad. But anyway, that's, I'm just aware of like, that's, and then that'll give me a little like something, a little
Mm-hmm.
like relief,
Mm-hmm.
because it feeds my ego also. It's like
Mm-hmm.
my, yeah, and yeah.
Yeah. What's a new like for me when I do that? It's like a new framework, and if it resonates, it's like, holy shit, this
Mm-hmm.
feels really
Mm-hmm.
true.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It almost always resonates.
Yeah.
Like, except, yeah, like one
Yeah.
thing that is coming to mind, it didn't resonate so much.
Mm-hmm.
But even in it's not resonating, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Look what I did. I reached out,
Mm-hmm.
and this person who is supposedly very whatever,
Mm-hmm.
renowned, famous, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
was like, is like, not, is like, I'm like,
That didn't resonate.
that is, it wasn't, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's interesting, here I am. It still helped me, like, in the end of that.
Right.
I felt myself. I was like, oh, I actually, this isn't for me. Like, in hearing that, the fog cleared, and I was standing in the,
Yeah.
in the light, or whatever.
There's something that's just so fucking amazing and precious around. Um, hold on. Our one viewer, Kristen. Hello.
Hi, Kristen.
I think it's early for you too. You're on a different time zone, so your commitment is pretty cool. And at some point, you and I will chat. I'd love to connect. There was the other thing that I was saying. I'm trying to feel back into it. It's like when something really, I don't know, like experiencing something that really feels true and is resonant and transcendent.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
a really fucking fun part of life.
Well, and dreams, like,
Well,
holy crap.
yeah.
How that's like
Yeah.
on the regular,
Yeah.
for experience, for, yeah,
Yeah.
for dreams and dreaming,
Yeah.
is like, yeah, it's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It feels, it feels like love.
Yeah. Yeah.
That deep acknowledgement, like the deep acknowledgement.
It's so funny. I just want to talk to Kristen real quick because I'm having this memory. So I'm assuming that this is okay. But she and I were in the summer program entering our sophomore year to go into high school. Like, there were a group of us who, in order to get into the high school that we got into, Stuyvesant, you needed to pass a certain test, and there were a group that were sort of just under that test. And the deal was, you go to summer school, you get in.
Oh, okay.
And so I went to summer school, and it was really still like a very challenging time for me because I got sick, and so, but I remember there was a book called The Light in the Forest. A Light in the Forest.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Kristen?
Yeah. But I just remember, for
Thumbs
some
up.
reason, I have this very specific memory of how hard it was for me to read, and like, I have this memory of sort of Kristen talking about the book, and I was like, that must be really cool to have been able to read the book.
Mm. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So I
yeah.
don't. I don't. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and again to offer like to is books for me is all I did was read because
Yeah.
that was like a way that I could
Mm-hmm.
disappear into another world
Mm-hmm.
and find that's where I found support
Mm-hmm.
in the characters in the books so
Kristen said, "I don't remember that book, but people probably can read the comments. I don't know why I'm reading them, but it just, yeah, it just touches me. So,
yeah
yeah.
yeah here we all are
Mm.
together
Yeah. Ah, so oh,
that's it
I guess that's it. Yeah, and I'm just feeling, trying to feel just sort of the openness and calmness and compassion for me to be able to be in the state that I'm in for the rest of the day is just tough. So, oh wow, Luca got traded for AD. What?
Hey,
Wake just
our
texted
kid
me.
is texting
Hold on, there's some NBA info that everybody should probably know. Wow, the Mavericks traded Luca for AD.
Who's AD?
Um, Anthony Davis, which seems crazy.
That's
Yeah,
what Wake
okay,
says. Insane.
yeah, I'm so proud I
Wow.
raised a discerning basketball fan. All right, my dears,
Okay.
we will be back next week,
Love you all.
and we're working on the process
yes,
of
right.
going live on
I don't know
YouTube
what the
instead of
heck.
Facebook.
Talk
I
about.
tried to fucking, you can't use, because, you know, whatever.
If anybody knows about it,
Because
please
Google,
DM us.
because Google and Apple, I guess, are, petty, and so you can't use, or Meta and Apple are petty, so you can't use Safari. They won't let you access your video on Safari. You have to do it through Google.
Uh-huh.
But I can't log on to our Oh Shit Said the Fairies YouTube page as a user on Chrome. I can only do it on Safari. So whatever. I don't know.
Wow. So
Yeah.
weird. So we'll post this. We can post this to the YouTube.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we're gonna put this on YouTube.
Yeah.
So catch us over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Send comments. If you have any questions.
Yeah.
We would both. The dream work is where it's at
Yeah.
for both of us, and
Yeah.
if you're interested
If
in
you wanna
even just like sharing a dream and yeah,
getting our number.
having a one-off session to see what it would be like and all that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Bye,
We're
everybody.
here. Bye.
Bye, Kristen.
Bye, Kristen. Thanks for watching.
Maybe someday you guys will meet. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.